Hi there, this is the Clandestine Pipe, just joining you today for what may be the beginning of a long series if there's a great response or if I just like making him. But a series that I call the Clandestine Pipe judges tin art. Today we're listening to Rob Barrick and his album Scottish Small Pipe Meditations. And I'm so glad you could join me. One of the things that I know is very important to me as I consider my pipe smoking is the tin art. And in fact, I buy bulk tobacco quite frequently, but I find that I miss most about, tinned tobacco. I don't notice a huge taste difference. I guess I'm not that sensitive. But what I notice is that losing out on that wonderful experience of kind of looking at the tin and comparing it to what's inside. Because really the tin art tells you so much about what you're meant to anticipate and sometimes like how and when that tobacco is going to be best enjoyed. It's just a very, very valuable experience. I'll pour myself a cup of coffee here and we'll get on our way. So the first tobacco tin that I want to talk about is probably one of the most iconic and is tragically lost to us, but is the Frogmorton pipe tobacco. This is one of the most fantastic sets, and I didn't want to do all of the series, but we'll definitely have some more of these lost McClelland tobaccos and the tins that they had. They did such a great job always of artwork. I'm just going to read the tin description as found on tobaccoreviews.com. So it says, an exceptionally dark, rich, and full Latakia mixture, designed for those who desire really satisfying Latakia flavor but want pipe tobacco soft enough to smoke anytime. It took Frogmorton 4 years to perfect this unique blend, designed for smoking in quiet serenity. It is his proudest achievement. Note, the name Frogmorton comes to us from the works of J.R.R. Tolkien. Frogmorton, a village in the East Farthing of the Shire. It stood on the East Road between the Three Farthing Stone, 14 miles to the west, and the Brandywine Bridge, 22 miles to the east. Immediately to the north of the village, the stream known as the Water broke into two, creating a wide, watery region. This feature seems to have given Frogmorton its name, which means frog marsh. So, one, anything that has a mythos to it, just some kind of a mythical connection, particularly to the works of J.R.R. Tolkien. And really what I love about this, and this isn't to denigrate some other blends, but ever since the Lord of the Rings movies, and probably before then, but it really became pronounced when the Lord of the Rings movies came around, we found that every pipe tobacco and every tobacco shop was naming its bulkies after, very on the nose, Arwen's Delight and, Hobbit's Dream and Mushrooms this, and it's great. Some of them are clever and some of them are just trying to shamelessly cash in on famous pipe smoking. But what I love about this is that Frogmorton is most certainly, being drawn from the J.R.R. Tolkien universe and mythos, but it is its own thing. It's a proper illusion. It's not just cashing in. And of course, the fact that this tobacco was beyond exemplary. I mean, one of the finest examples of a nice English Latakia blend with enough flavoring and sweetness to be accessible to the non-English smoker and really enjoyable for almost anyone. But this tobacco is very important in its own right. However, the simple drawing, almost of a sort of shepherd nature, he's the fellow who illustrated the most famous editions of Winnie the Pooh and and of The Wind in the Willows. It kind of has that simplicity to it. It's not quite as refined as E.H. Shepperson's style, but it has that simplicity and childlike warmth to it. And putting your little anthropomorphic frog here in his Sunday best and sitting up on his log gives us that sense of mystery. Like, here he is. How did he get up on there without spoiling his lovely dress coat and that beautiful little tie? And of course, smoking the pipe with his nose glasses is just something that inspires mystery. It welcomes you into the world of McClelland or Frogmorton's pipe tobacco. I believe it was painted by Mary McClelland, one of the owners and maybe founder, but unbelievable legacy behind this tobacco. And I think it's in no small part because of the incredible tastefulness of this specific tin art and blend. The next tobacco I'd like to look at is plum cake. And plum cake is just this classic. I think it's the quintessential, like, they set a standard in what we would even hope to look for in a blend of any variety, but particularly like quintessential tobacco advertising. So here we find the tin mixture again, or the tin description again from tobaccoreviews.com. A mixture of fully ripe Virginia tobaccos, sliced, cask-mellowed burley tobaccos, dark spicy Cavendish, and just a touch of Latakia. To give plum cake an elegant aroma, the blend has been flavored with aged Jamaica rum. Then there's a new tin description. I don't know when this was renewed, but it reads, plum cake brings the thoughts back to old times, when the sailors on board the sailing ships filled their pipe with good, satisfying tobacco, and having the scent of tar and salt water all around them, bright Virginia tobaccos mixed with burley, a little original Mac Baren Cavendish, and just a touch of Cyprian Latakia. On top of this masterfully made blend, original Jamaican rum has been added to fulfill the impression. This blend is full-bodied and rich, giving you the taste, nuances of natural sweetness added with a slight taste of smoke, Latakia, and the distinctive aroma of sailor rum. Now, this is a tobacco that I've actually honestly struggled with since the first tin I had more than 15 years ago. For some reason, I have always found this to be really bitey and almost like napalmy uncomfortable when smoking it. However, I recently enjoyed it. Two-hour bowls of this in a row. It was a MacArthur cob, and I was able to stuff it, and it was not bitey at all. All the sweetness and complexity and richness of the tobaccos came out, and I just had this wonderful experience with it. But even if I'd never had that great experience to kind of bring me back around to it, yeah, there's no question that this tin art is iconic. The simplicity and the amount of information, it just leaves itself as a pronounced great blend, a standard. It's almost as if it speaks out as to what it is, not pretending and not pretentious at all, but just giving us the information that we need in a very classy presentation that just says, yeah, this is exactly what you want your blend to be. The next one will be one of which we'll have to look at several other titles over the course of this series, and that would be Cornell and Deal. And I had to start with Briar Fox. It was a blend that I just tried for the first time in the last year, and absolutely loved it. It's a great burley blend, but this anthropomorphic fox is a phenomenal introduction to this pipe tobacco. So our tin note is tin reading is an exceptionally smooth crumble cake of Virginias and burleys. Notes, the personal blend of well-known Danish pipe maker, the late Peter Hesjen. One of C&D's most popular tobaccos, Briar Fox, is pressed into an old-fashioned crumble cake. So, again, another phenomenal and exemplary tobacco all by itself. But I love their rebranding. The one on the right here is the older tins that used to have. They used to kind of feature the artwork sort of centrally on it, and now they've moved this artwork to be more eye-grabbing. I think it's a great idea. I think it's resulted in some phenomenal additions and really featuring the great amount of work that goes into getting a good picture that gets you in on what the blend is going to bring to you. So we have this great anthropomorphic fox, and we have to note that anthropomorphic animals are not as easy to come across and illustrate well. If they're too human-like, they become creepy. If they're too cartoony, they look a little bit like Disney. If they're too animal-like, they just look like an animal, and that kind of loses some of the interest, particularly as we tend to like our animals smoking pipes in this specific genre. In fact, I think we love the idea of animals smoking pipes. It connects in some way us to the natural attitude that it is, that this method of this hobby and repose is all about. So I really find that these tobaccos, but this specific picture of his adorable, like, outdoorsy wear. I mean, look at that smoking jacket, or at least this jacket over the nice big colored sweater, or maybe turtleneck sweater. It already says there's a level of refinement to it. It's not too stuffy, and yet it's, you can imagine him, for some reason I think because of the Brer Rabbit and the Tar Baby old stories, I imagine this as being something like drawing on Southern imagery and Southern, mythology, if you like, a Southern American, rather, mythology. But the hat being a perfect kind of topper to the thing. You almost imagine this guy's out in his briar patch, walking around enjoying that little potbelly pipe, and it does have a sort of raw, this Virginia Burley blend. It does have this kind of raw, almost cigarette-y taste to it. It's a delicious, delightful, complex, and not bitey. But you'll notice the briars that are surrounding the fox really do look a lot like what comes in the tin. It's that nice, bright coloring to it. So this is just brilliant in every way. This picture of this fox and how he speaks to you. It just seems like the kind of fox that might just roll over your backyard fence or up through the meadow while you're enjoying a pipe and asks to have a fill of your tobacco. I love that. I really appreciate all of Cornelian Deal's excellent artwork, but it speaks to the tobacco in it. It also gives you a picture of a romanticized picture of enjoying the product that you really would like, and how he's just reaching up through the briars and holding the briars apart to come approach you it's just a grand picture in a lot of ways. So the next tobacco we'll look at is an American classic, and really a classic of all pipe smoking that I know, Carter Hall. It's the soft luxury pouch. Does this picture not just absolutely light you up? Every time I see this picture, now I love Carter Hall tobacco, I'm not ashamed of that at all. It is a phenomenal, delicious, and great all-day blend that burns beautifully. I just can't speak highly enough of this tobacco. In fact, it would definitely be on my desert island top 5. But I love the way that this packaging has never changed in my lifetime. I don't know if it was always this way from its inception, but it has always been kind of a tried and true classic, and even the appearance of it gives us all the information that I think we need to know that this is going to be a great choice for us. Carter Hall, right? I always had this idea of an English manor or something refined and upscale, and yet it's not pretentious at all. The soft luxury pouch lets you know that at some point this was a great draw. This luxury pouch that you were going to get as a way of moving the tobacco, especially I would imagine this goes all the way back to when they were moving to pouches to sell tobacco rather than actual tins that would flip open on top. I always wondered how those worked. I've seen a couple of the older ones, and you couldn't fit your pipe in it, so you'd have to pour the tobacco out of it anyway. So whereas the pouch is a nice improvement on that. But this tobacco mixture it says, what smokers like about Carter Hall: taste, aroma, moistness, freshness, mildness, no bite, even burning, satisfying, good price. All of those things are very accurate to my experience with Carter Hall. So this direct, beautiful, simple, and elegant design just reminds me why I love to smoke Carter Hall, and why I think it's always been a standard for years and years, and I think it was not going anywhere, because it is not your fancy pants, artisan pipe tobacco, but neither is it sort of your lowbrow sort of tobacco. It doesn't seem to be trying to say, yeah, I'm your everyman tobacco, in the sense of, kind of being the Budweiser of tobacco. No, it's not that. It's still got an elegance and a refined nature to it that it shows. On the back of this one, we have cross-cut burleys with a sprinkling of Virginia flake. Notes: Carter Hall has been providing a straightforward and enjoyable smoking blend at an affordable price since 1895 by keeping things simple. Ribbon-cut Virginia and burley leaf of good quality combined in the right proportions. Oh, what a great blend, but also, and I'm sure that I'm going to jinx myself, and now you won't be able to find this, they'll rebrand, but I love that they haven't rebranded. I love that they haven't tried to catch up and put some sort of flashy new picture on it that somehow catches the eye. Again, not that I'm against that in all cases, but in this case, I think it would be a great loss to us if Carter Hall or Prince Albert were to go through a major rebrand. I think I would be sorry for it. I would miss this tin art, because I buy these by the tub, and I buy these by the little pouch when I'm on the road or out and about, because I love the tobacco, but also, again, I love the presentation. The last tobacco we'll look at in this session will be Irish Flake by Peterson of Dublin. And this one reads, it's a little too small to read and unclear to read on this picture, but a full-bodied blend made of equal proportions, air-cured, flue-cured, and dark-fired. True to the pure, unspoiled tobacco taste recommended for the experienced pipe smoker. And that is a good recommendation. I've had quite a few tins of this, and I love it. One of the things I love about it, and I know it's not unique to Irish Flake alone, but it is perfectly shaped to fit around the flakes. Like, many of the flake tobaccos will come in a larger tin and have two across and, be a square. This is like, it's almost covert. You could stick it in a pocket. You can walk around with it. It's a grand presentation. It has that elegance, the same elegance that we see with plum cake. And, of course, it's a standard tobacco, a really good standard tobacco. But the simplicity of the picture, you get the product, you get made exclusively for Peterson of Dublin. Again, it just has that enjoyable picture that it gives you of what it's going to be like to smoke this flake. And it is a great recommendation for the experienced pipe smoker. I have brought this tobacco out with some less experienced pipe smokers and seen them quite pipe drunk, which I recognize is not a term, but I think it should be. Someone who's over nicotine is usually the feature, right? But over nicotined or over strengthened the tobacco and starts to get a little woozy, lightheaded, or sick. And sure enough, having shared this with some less experienced smokers, they were all heads reeling, and I don't think one of them finished the bowl, but they did enjoy it. It's so full flavored and delicious. It's just a tasty tobacco and a really classic, great one. But it's another perfect example of what good tin art can do. It accurately portrays what you will find inside, not just by the information, but by the very way the tin holds itself, it carries itself, the way it appears to you, that kind of quiet Peterson or P imprint in the background gives it enough of a visual draw to catch your eye, but not so much that it's, jumping up and down and saying, look at me, because it's better than that. It knows, again, it's as if it knows what a classic and great tobacco it is. It's just a very well done tobacco tin, and particularly because the more you look at it, the more comes out. At first, it just looks as simple as, again, say the plum cake, but then the more you stare at it, the more you see that there's little bits of information just subtly put in, like to open, insert coin, and twist, which hilariously, when I bought my first tinned tobacco 20 years ago now, I spent the better part of the time trying to figure out how to open it without throwing it everywhere. And so that's a wonderful little bit of necessary information. Just insert a coin and twist. You have the made exclusively, this note of what you're getting, the Peterson imprint in 2-3 different places, right at the top, and then finally the P behind the label, the Irish Flake, and then the picture of the company founder there. So it's a really phenomenal version, or phenomenal feat of simplicity and beauty and accurate representation of what you're going to get within. Well, those are the 5 tobaccos I wanted to look at today. The questions that I'd have for you is, if you like this series, please do like it and comment on it, and what tobacco you thought was the best out of those 5. I would really be interested to hear. I know which one was my favorite, but yours would be very coveted information. And secondly, what are some of your favorite tins and tin arts? Like, which ones do you find to be most interesting or intriguing as you purchase tins of tobacco? Is there one that you bought just because of the tin art? I think we've all done that at one point or the other. Or was there a tin art that you find so atrocious that you find it puts you off, or puts you off the tobacco? Well, again, thank you for spending this time with me and looking at some of these things that I find interesting. I'm delighted that you were able to spend the moments with me, and I hope you're well, and I hope the smoke continually satisfies.